Hi everyone, my name is Maya Shalowski and I work with the UC Davis Arboretum and Public Garden. I'm a student co-coordinator for the Habitat Horticulture Project under the Learning by Leading program. We focus on pollinators and other wildlife and their interactions with our native plants. We're really bummed we didn't get to see you at the California Honey Festival this year, but we wanted to share a few books with you that we think you'd enjoy. These books are about pollinators. This first book is called Bees Are the Best, and it was written by bee biologist Joseph Wilson and Jonny Van Orman. Bees Are the Best by Jonny Van Orman and Joseph Wilson. In the hollow of a tree, buzzing in their hive, in a sea of honeycomb, thousands of sister bees work together. This is Honey. She's happy to be a part of this busy team. Worker bees make wax on their bellies, chew it up, and then spit it out, using the wax to build their hive. Just like this. I love being a bee. Bees have stripes. Our hive never rests. We make lots of honey. Bees are the best. Today, Honey gets to leave her hive for the first time. Out of the hive, flying out into the fields, she and her sister bees begin hunting for sweet nectar and pollen. Honey begins filling the pollen baskets on her legs. She's happy to be one of the collectors. I love being a bee. Bees have stripes. Our hive never rests. We make lots of honey. Bees are the best. Hey, wait a minute. Down near the ground, hovering near a hole, a big fluffy bee speaks up. I don't really make honey. I live underground in a hive with a few of my sisters, but I'm still a bee, a bumblebee. Sorry, said Honey. I didn't know. I'm a newbie. Get it? Newbie. Honey leaves to collect more pollen. She's amazed that there's more than one kind of bee. I still love being a bee. Bees have stripes. Our hive never rests, even underground. Most make lots of honey. Bees are the best. What do you mean? From a patch of grass, kicking up sand, a shiny green stranger pops up from a hole. I don't have stripes. I don't make honey. I don't live in a hive. I live alone in this hole, but I'm still a bee, a sweat bee. Sorry, said Honey. That's gotta sting. Honey backs away, a little less sure about what it means to be a bee, but she's ready to get back to work. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Honey makes her way into a forest and finds a fantastic pollen-filled flower. I love being a bee. Lots of us have stripes. Most of us have hives that never rest. Many make honey. Bees are the best. Hold on. Before Honey can say another word, from every direction, above and below, shadowy figures gather around Honey. Her fears soon disappear as she finds these bees just want to introduce themselves and tell her how they are different than honeybees. We sleep on flowers, said the longhorn bee. My home's inside wood, said the carpenter bee. Mine's on the side of a rock, said the resin bee. I nest inside plants, said the small carpenter bee. My nest's made of mud, and I'm blue, said the mason bee. I have multicolored stripes, said the pearly-banded sweat bee. I'm mostly gray, and fabulous, said the digger bee. I'm not fuzzy. I look like a wasp, but I barf nectar, said the masked bee. I'm not even a bee, said the hoverfly. Fooled ya. We're called leafcutter bees. Ask us why, said the leafcutter bee. I live alone, but in a neighborhood, said the mallow bee. I carry pollen in my belly, not legs, said the wool carder bee. I can't sting, and I wouldn't even if I could, said the mining bee. I steal my nest and food, said the cuckoo bee. I make pollen soup. Try some, said the polyester bee. We don't make honey, said the fairy bees. None of us make honey, but we're all bees. I make a little, said the bumblebee. Still not a bee, said the hoverfly. Oops, said Honey. I had no idea. Heading home, Honey has lots to think about. What does it even mean to be a bee? I thought bees were the best because they have stripes. live in big hives, and make lots of honey. But, Honey's looking around. Bees like me have beautiful stripes. We gather pollen when it's light. We work together in a great big hive, making honey to keep us alive. And now I know bees are the best because they can nest and live in all kinds of places. They have all kinds of colors and stripes and faces. There are more sizes and shapes than I had ever known. Some live in groups and some live alone. And we're glad to be home. Bees are amazing. I love being a bee. We are big fans. The bumblebee usually nests underground in abandoned rodent burrows. Its nest looks like a small pile of bubbles. It makes a tiny bit of honey like food for the workers and queen. The green sweat bee nests alone in a hole in the ground. It sometimes lands on people to lick sweat, probably for minerals. It is a common bee in backyards. The longhorned bee male sleeps in groups on flowers. The female nests alone in the ground. The male has long antennae. It is common in late summer. The carpenter bee chews nests inside old pieces of wood. It doesn't make honey, and it is one of the biggest bees in North America. The resin bee uses plant sap and pebbles to make its nest. It glues its nest to the side of rocks. It carries pollen on its belly. The small carpenter bee nests inside hollow plant stems. It is small and shiny with white patch on its face. It carries pollen on its legs. The mason bee builds nests using mud. It often nests in holes in wood. It carries pollen on its belly, and it is often metallic blue or green. The pearly-banded sweat bee nests alone in the hole in the ground. It often nests in a large group. It is a good pollinator of some crops. The digger bee nests alone in a hole in the ground. It carries pollen on its back legs. It usually has gray or tan hair. Some have red, blue, or green eyes. The leafcutter bee nests alone in holes in wood. It uses pieces of leaves to line its nest, and it carries pollen on its belly. The mallow bee only visits mallow flowers. It nests alone, but in groups, in hard-packed soil. Its nest entrance is a mud chimney. The masked bee nests inside hollow plant stems, and it carries pollen in its crop, which is its honey stomach, and it barfs up pollen when it's back at its nest. The wool carder bee nests alone in a hole in wood. It lines its nest with fuzz from plants and carries pollen on its belly. It hovers in front of its favorite flowers. The mining bee nests in a hole in the ground. It is active in early spring. It can't sting, and it carries pollen on its legs. The cuckoo bee sneaks into other bees' nests to lay an egg. The cuckoo baby kills its host larva. The cuckoo baby also eats its host pollen. The polyester bee nests in a hole in the ground. It lines its nest with plastic-like coating and feeds its babies soupy mixture of nectar and pollen. The fairy bee is the smallest kind of bee in North America. It nests alone in a hole in the ground, and most live in hot desert areas. That's how small it is compared to a quarter. The hoverfly has big eyes and short antennae. It has 2 wings, and bees have 4, and it has skinny legs. The honeybee, of course, in the wild makes hives in cavities, like in a cave or hollow tree. The hive contains around 30,000 workers, all of them female. Workers clean the hive, make the wax on their belly, take care of the young, feed the queen, collect pollen and nectar, and make honey. Only the queen lays eggs. At 3 weeks old, workers leave the hive to collect nectar and pollen. They collect pollen into pollen baskets on their legs, rather than on hairs like other bees do. It dances to tell other workers where to find flowers. Some workers flap their wings to keep the hive cool. To learn more about these and other bees, check out the book The Bees in Your Backyard by Joseph Wilson and Olivia Carell. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for some more pollinator books.